Shalom. Shalom, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Inward Man. My name is Symmanayah, and this is the 41st installment. An installment where I reflect on the things that stir within inside of me. Again, my name is Symmanayah. I want to bring to your attention, my brothers and sisters, I spoke on this in times past, and I will bring it to top of mind in the remaining series, the remaining segments of this series. And that is, it is my belief that the Most High, in my prayer, in my communion, that it is the Most High Spirit, sent in Yahusha's name, that revealed to me that the ring of fire is as the bookends, or the end of the scroll, where man has spread from his original beginnings. In other words, where life began in the Garden of Eden, and man began to be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, I am compelled to believe that the bookmarks, the end, is the ring of fire. If we know anything about the international dateline, if you go so far west, if you believe the world, the globe, the planet is round, which I do, then you will hit the international dateline, and when you cross that line, west no longer is west. It is the furthest eastern point. This is where east meet west, my brothers and sisters. It is right, not dead center, but it goes down the Pacific Ocean from the north to the south. And I am not speaking in a scientific way, but more so an overview. And if you look, my brothers and sisters, I believe we will see that the habitable places on this planet will begin to deteriorate much from the ring of fire, forcing migrations back to the lands where life began, the region where life began. With that said, my brothers and sisters, many people are beginning to realize that there is no such thing as a pre-trib or a mid-trib rapture. Many people are beginning to ask questions. People who are seeking to do the will of the Almighty Father are sincerely asking questions and desire to know, where are we headed? Is there a place of safety? And I am compelled to believe that the Most High has promised for those whom he has chosen to fulfill this prophecy a safe place. And that safe place is his set-apart mountain. And that set-apart mountain is Jabal al-Alz in the northwest quadrant of what's known as Saudi Arabia. That is the true Mount Sinai, the place where Moses, or Mashyach, received the Ten Commandments. It is the set-apart mountain of the Most High, and I believe we will return to that region. So as it stands, watch and pray, my brothers and sisters. With that said, know this. Remember, John 6:44 says, no one can come unto the Messiah unless drawn by the Father. In John 12:32, where the Mashyach says, if he's lifted up, it is he who will draw all men to himself. And how will we know these things? We will witness and watch these things. But it's important, my brothers and sisters, as we begin to see action and movement, that we be mindful of 1 John 4:1 that says, try the Spirit to see if it's indeed of the Almighty One. With this long introduction stated, my brothers and sisters, this segment brings to mind the question, New Earth, the beginning or foreshadow? New Earth, the beginning or foreshadow? I believe without a doubt, my brothers and sisters, and I say often that the 144,000 in great multitude will come together, and it will not happen in an instant. With that said, let's get into this segment about the new earth, the beginning, or are we witnessing a foreshadow? Consider this. Isaiah 65:17 says, for look, I am creating new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come to heart. That's Isaiah 65:17. Isaiah 66:22 reads, for as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahuwah, so your seed and your name shall stand. Many people will argue that the earth will be here forever. And I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to share with you passages that I believe informs us that the earth will be destroyed. But keep in mind that the original text was pictures and symbols. And I submit to you, if we seek to discern and ask the Most High, how can we have a new earth? And how can he also destroy the earth? When I read and I come across things that may appear to be contradictory, I seek understanding, for I know that the Most High does not contradict himself. So I seek to discern, how can this be, O Father? How can this be? In the name of Yahusha, help me to understand. And it was as though the Spirit of Yahusha came before me and said, consider this. Consider if you had a table and you wanted to make it renewed or new, and you would strip the paint and the tarnish off. You would strip it down to the naked wood. And anything you had on that table, you would lift it up so you can complete the task. Strip it down, repolish it, refinish it, and then put whatever you have back on it. It was as though the Spirit of Yahushua was saying that this earth that man have polluted and contaminated, this earth, this planet that we have taken for granted and messed up in many ways, more than we can imagine, with such garbage and trash and waste. This planet, the Most High, will consume all that is beyond the core of the planet, where all the pollutants and all the trash and all the garbage and all man-made contaminants are burnt up and consumed with fire. And then you have a new planet. So it's not that the entire planet is burnt up. And when I say that the Hebrew scriptures with pictures and symbols, know that the picture of the earth, the words, to bring it to words of saying a new earth, it is important that we understand that the scriptures absolutely do not contradict each other. So how can you have it burnt up and how can you have the earth remaining forever? And I believe the Spirit of Yahushua said, by clearing off and stripping the planet of its pollutants. And I'm going to present some things from a geological perspective that even supports this understanding. Moving right along. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9 through 13. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9 through 13 reads, Yahuwah is not slow in regard to the promise, as some count slowness, but is patient towards us, not wishing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. But the day of Yahuwah shall come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with intense heat, and the earth and the works that are in it shall be burned up. Seeing all these are to be destroyed in this way, what kind of people ought you to be in set apart behavior and reverence, looking for and hastening the coming day of the Almighty One, through which the heavens shall be destroyed, being set on fire, and the elements melt with intense heat. But according to his promise, we wait for a renewed heavens and a renewed earth in which righteousness dwells. Seek to discern the life in these words, for I believe we will witness this come to be. And I pose the question, has it begun? Has it begun? Let me read two more before I move further into this passage, into this commentary, into this message. Isaiah 60, verse 21 says, and your people, all of them righteous, shall inherit the earth forever, a branch of my planting, a work of my hands to be adorned. Notice he say a work of my hands. You see, so what is getting ready to occur is the work of the Almighty Father. Psalms 37:29 says, the righteous shall inherit the earth and dwell in it forever. Back to the topic, my brothers and sisters, for you to realize what I'm talking about here. New earth, the beginning or foreshadow. I don't believe, my brothers and sisters, I'm compelled to believe that things will not happen at the flash of an instant. Time is something that we believe we have an understanding, but is yet to know the fullness of Yahuwah's time. Consider this, my brothers and sisters. End times speak of earthquakes in diverse places. We read that in Matthew 24:7 when it says, "For nation shall rise against nation, reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food and deadly diseases and earthquakes in places." Many of you may not be aware of, but when you have earthquakes, this is when tectonic plates collide. One submerged and another one creeps up on top of the other. They collide, and in the midst of many earthquakes, we see volcanoes. And in volcanoes, we see eruptions where lava spew out. If you doubt these words, my brothers and sisters, seek out the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii, and it will not take much research to see that it's created a new island. The molten rock spewing out of the volcano creates a new island, a new earth in that patch. And I say to you, my brothers and sisters, out of all the earthquakes that are spewing lavas that have ever spewed lava, if you search, you will find that this is how new lands begin, new landmass. We read that the Almighty Father is indeed a consuming fire. How many of us are aware of that molten rock is a result of his hands? The heat that can melt and disintegrate all in its path and create new lands. These are the workings of the Almighty Father. As we see, the earth is indeed heating up, my brothers and sisters. Global warming, climate change, and growing drought. We read in Deuteronomy 4:24 that the Almighty Father, Yahuwah, is indeed a consuming fire. Let us be mindful, my brothers and sisters. I ask, are we witnessing a foreshadow of what's to come? Has it ever been this many volcanoes erupting? Have we begun to witness this much molten rock moving about below the surface, my brothers and sisters? Now, I know that we have busy lives and we may not even be aware of such activity. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. This may indeed prove how the scriptures can be indeed interpreted as a new earth as a result of volcanic activity, molten rock, destroying and consuming all. And you know that there are volcanoes in the oceans, in the seas, at the bottom of the seas. So let us be mindful, my brothers and sisters, how indeed a planet can be renewed. And I believe what will happen as it relates to the snatching up or the caught up in the twinkling of an eye, I believe that the Spirit of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name, I believe that Yahusha Mashyach said it is as though the Most High will lift up off the planet and we meet him in the clouds as the final burning and consumption and as the new earth is formed, and we will be placed back at the appointed time. At the appointed time, my brothers and sisters, there will not be a pre-tribulation rapture, not even a mid-trib rapture. At the last trump, at the time when the Most High have stated in his scriptures, we will witness the phenomena of being caught up, and we will return to this planet to fulfill what is written, how we will inherit it forever, as I mentioned earlier. Pray, O Yasharal. There is much ahead. There are some things we must be mindful of now. For in all that is to come, it will require movement. Let me read Isaiah 65:66. Again, for I looked, I am creating new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come to heart. My brothers and sisters, I am aware of the scriptures that says in Psalms 37:29, the righteous shall inherit the earth and dwell in it forever. I'm aware of, that was 37:29 of Psalms. I'm aware of Psalms 37:11, but the meek ones shall inherit the earth and delight themselves in plenty of peace. I am aware that the righteous inherit the earth and dwell in it forever. 37:29, as I mentioned, my brothers and sisters. But let us not disregard where it speaks of in 2 Peter of a new heaven and a new earth. Let us not disregard 2 Peter 3:12 when he said, the heavens shall be destroyed, being set on fire, and the elements melt with intense heat. With all that is about to unfold before our very eyes, O Yasharal, keep in mind Ezekiel chapter 3. It speaks of if we see something occurring, we have an obligation to warn our brothers. If we don't, that person's blood we're held accountable for. It will be on us. There's an obligation to the watchman. There's an obligation to those who see, those who are able to discern and believe. We have an obligation to warn brothers and sisters. We have an obligation to bring to attention the need to discern the tasks that are before us, O Yasharal. My brothers and sisters, these are the days when our beliefs will be put to the test. We will either believe what we say, or we might find ourselves dubbed or identified as hypocrites. The scriptures inform us that life began in the Garden of Eden, and it appears to those who are able to see that life also will end in that region, not too far from the valley of Megiddo. If you search the scriptures and you look at what it describes as it relates to the tribulation, the great tribulation, to kill over 2/3 of the planet's population, to kill billions of people, and for the planet to face much destruction as a result of earthquakes, famine, plagues, and disease, and rivers turning to blood. I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, there will be movement for those that have been chosen for his esteem, those who will be gathered from the four corners of the earth. There will be movement. And with that movement requires work. O Yasharal, you who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, we who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, let us realize what the scriptures present before us. There are instructions and there are promises of discipline and refinement. I pray and I mention often how Abba Yahuah, our Father, will discipline us, O Yasharal. He will refine us. And there will be some that will be left behind. But keep in mind, O Yasharal, keep in mind, it is not for us to be worried or fear what would happen in these physical bodies. I invite you, O Yasharal, to become mindful of what is expected. The Great Tribulation is real. Some say it has begun, some say it has not. That is not the subject of this matter. The subject is to look at the signs of the times and be mindful of what the Most High is saying to you, to me, to us, O Yasharal. Oftentimes, we will see how things are beginning to progress as it relates to end-time prophecies. But there are those among us who will be the deniers, who will be among the unbelieving. Let us pray for them, that our eyes are open. Keep in mind, my brothers and sisters, let me also read 1 Thessalonians 5, 9, and 10. It says, because the Almighty One did not appoint us to wrath, but to obtain deliverance through our Master Yahusha Messiah, who died for us so that we, whether awake or asleep, shall live together with him. Now, I want you to know, my brothers and sisters, there is a false sense of security where people think that all of Yasharal that's obedient will be drawn from the four corners of the earth, and every brother and sister in Yahusha Mashyach will be gathered to the set-apart mountain before the physical return. This is far from the truth. Only those whom the Most High has chosen to fulfill his esteem, to fulfill his prophecies, will be those that are gathered. That doesn't mean that he doesn't love those of us if we are left behind. It doesn't mean that he's forsaking us. Keep in mind Matthew 5, 10, 38, and 39, which says, he who does not take a mistake and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who has found his life shall lose it, and he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. And Luke 7, that was Matthew 10, 38 and 39. Luke 17, 33 says, whoever seeks to save his life shall lose it, and whoever loses his life shall preserve it. I say to you, my brothers and sisters, these physical bodies will go back to the earth, as it is written in Ecclesiastes. And our spirits will return into the possession of the Most High, wherever he hath designated us to be. To his children, the time will come, judgment day, where we will forever be with Yahusha Mashyach, our sovereign, our king. And the time will come for those who are not set apart Yashar'al, those who are not children of the Most High, will face a different judgment and face eternal damnation. In other words, my brothers and sisters, let us realize that in spite of what these bodies will face, as long as we pursue the will of the Almighty Father to obey and worship him, in time we will experience the fullness of the life that he has given us. We will grow into understanding what must be done. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. If I'm saying something that confuses you or you're not sure of, I invite your conversations, your questions. Let us search the scriptures with an open mind to seek to discern what is indeed true, not compromising anything that is set apart, my brothers and sisters. I have mentioned in times past, extreme humbling times are coming, and I am compelled to continue that warning before you, O Yasharal, before the family of the set-apart ones of Yahuah. I ask you again, has the new earth begun? Are we getting a foreshadow of what's ahead? Is this planet starting to heat up and burn up? Will we witness multiple volcanoes beginning to create a new earth? And will it become widespread up until the point before the physical return of Yahusha Mashyach? Pray and watch. These days are real. These times are real, my brothers and sisters. Those who wait till the most obvious of proof come may indeed find themselves caught up in congestion, trying to move about and discern which direction to go. I submit to you, O Yasharal, the call is out there to prepare, to have a ready mind and body, to begin movement. There are some who have begun to move, and there are others who will begin to move as the Spirit of Yahuah stir within them strong enough to get them to move. And there are those who will be forced to move as climate conditions and habitable conditions worsen. And we will witness the gathering of the four corners, from the four corners, the gathering of a set-apart nation. We will also witness the wicked being gathered. For keep in mind, there comes a time when the wicked forms armies that gather in the valley of Megiddo before marching against the body of Yasharal, right before the physical return of Yahusha Mashiach. So vividly I see what lies ahead, my brothers and sisters. This is real. But be encouraged. Be encouraged. Our redemption is indeed ahead, my brothers and sisters. Be encouraged and know that comfort comes by understanding and knowing what must and will be done. This plan belongs to the Most High, the Almighty Yahuah, and we will witness what is meant by him sending his set-apart spirit in Yahusha's name to teach us, to comfort us, to set us free from all wicked strongholds. O Yasharal, O Yasharal. Let us embrace the plan of the Most High with diligence. Let us grow in strength and have the fortitude to discern and respond as we find ourselves being gathered together, O Yasharal. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, new earth, the beginning or a foreshadow. If we see things becoming more and more intense, if we see more and more volcanoes opening up, I submit to you, it is highly possible that the beginning of a new earth has started. Pray and watch, and more than anything, discern what is expected of you, me, of us. Until next time, may all praises go before the Almighty Father. May all praises go up, and he gets the credit and esteem for all that he has done, and creating a plan that brought us and that will bring us into his presence in the coming days, O Yasharal. Until next time, shalom, shalom, shalom.